You ready?
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Cameron Hoffman, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about Decoding Dyslexia Virginia.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us. We are here to tell you that Decoding Dyslexia Virginia was started from Decoding Dyslexia New Jersey, which is a parent-run grassroots movement of dyslexic parents of dyslexics. They were started 2 years ago, and since they formed, over 40 chapters in other states have formed.
40.
And so I hope you'll take from that this is dyslexia is a concern not only here in the state of Virginia, but across the nation as a whole. The story is very similar to ours. It was just a bunch of parents in New Jersey that got together with similar concerns about their parents' education, and they said this has got to change. So we here in Virginia heard about it, we got on board, and we want to tell you a little bit about our mission and what we'd like for you to do for us if you can.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, we want to raise dyslexia awareness across the state as a whole.
It's 12 o'clock.
We want to mandate early screening and diagnosis. We want to find our children who are dyslexic early. And we want to mandate teacher, educational psychologist, principal training in dyslexia. We have yet to meet a teacher who says, yep, I was trained to deal with dyslexia. None of them have been adequately trained to teach a child to read with dyslexia. And we also want to link parents to resources and facilitate access to assistive technology.
Okay.
Do you know anything about dyslexia?
Is it where you flip the letters?
No. I think a lot of people from our generation think that. It's all flipping letters, flipping whole words, seeing things backwards. It's not really what it's about. You might want to ask around if you have any friends who are dyslexic.
Right.
Because I bet you will find some. We think that dyslexia affects 1 in 5 people, or 20%.
20%?
Yeah. So I'm sure you probably know someone who's dyslexic. And it's not about that flipping words, seeing things backwards. It's actually the limberness that we have with letter-sound association, which is kind of hard to think about because it's so intuitive for us. But if I asked you, let's say to say the word spat, can you say?
Yes, spat.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No worries.
Okay. So then I want you to take out the p.
Yes. So I would say sat.
Right. But for our kids, that's a really hard thing to do.
Okay.
That inserting, deleting sounds, chunking sounds together, all of that is really difficult. And it's so difficult that when they see a word that seemingly they should know because they've seen it 3 times on the page, it's still hard the 4th, 5th, and 6th time they see it on a page. A word and or the can even be really difficult for them. So I already told you a little bit about the prevalence. There is a state definition in our state code that defines what the specific learning disability for dyslexia.
Okay.
So we're very lucky to have that, and part of our mission is to raise the awareness for parents that it's there. It's on page 11 of the state code. One of the other things about dyslexia is that people who have dyslexia don't use the left side of their brain to read. They're actually trying to use the right side of their brain to do what most of us do with the left side. So it makes it, they're really, those neural pathways aren't developed as well, and they have to struggle to do the things that most people do innately. Like I said, we want proper early identification. The earlier the better. Multiple years of research has proven that. So we would like a dyslexia screen in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, or at any point that the child enters the public school system. Once identified, that child needs a structured, sequential, cumulative, simultaneously multisensory program to remediate their dyslexia, and it needs to be given with fidelity. So one of the things we've found is that the kid might get an appropriate program, but it's not given with the appropriate publisher's recommendation. The publisher might say it's proven effective if it's given for 90 minutes a day, but then the child only gets it for 45 minutes. And so that's a problem. It needs to be given the same way to be able to be successful, the same way that it's proven to be successful. And I'll just say that there's a less of a financial burden on the schools if it's remediated early. So a child could either never be put into the public school the special ed system in the first place because it's found early and dealt
Sure.
with appropriately, or they could only be in the special ed population for a short period of time. The problem is remediated, the child learns to read, and they can go back into the classroom. So that ultimately saves the school system some time and money with special education costs. Again, I told you we have yet to meet a teacher who says, I know all about dyslexia, I learned how to deal with it in school. So
Even in special education?
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
So they have not learned the methods to appropriately remediate a child with dyslexia. So the way to remediate is based on over 30 years of research. A lot of it was done by 2 Columbia University scientists, Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham. One is a neuropsychologist, the other is an educational psychologist, and they've proven that this structured, systematic, sequential delivery of reading using really teaching the specific rules of the English language, the structure of the English language is what works.
Okay.
So a whole language approach of figuring out what's going on from what is happening on the page or from seeing a word multiple times is not how our children with dyslexia are going to learn to read.
Okay.
So at this point, what we would normally do is have our Decoding Dyslexia parents tell their story
Mm-hmm.
to reinforce what we just said.
Right.
So we're going to change for a minute, and I'm going to pretend like I'm the parent who has been through the school system and what their journey has been. So I would say something like, hi, my name is Susie, and I live in your district, and this has been my experience in the school system. I thought that my child had a reading disability in kindergarten. I asked the school if I should be concerned, and the school said, no, he shouldn't. They did some early screens that weren't specific for dyslexia that my child didn't do well on, and that made me worried. And again, I was told, no, we would never diagnose a child so early with a thing like dyslexia. We don't even talk about dyslexia. That's a very broad term. And ultimately, in first grade, my husband and I said, something's wrong, something's not working, and we paid for independent testing, which was a lot of money for us,
Mm-hmm.
$5,000 or $6,000. And we took that to the school thinking, well, certainly they know what we should do.
Right.
And sadly, they didn't.
Right.
And the journey has been now in finding the right program for our child. And we just would like this to change for the future for other children. This has been going on for more than 40 years. We have 40 years of solid research. It shouldn't be so difficult for parents and for children.
I would agree. Sounds like a good cause.
So, and then as the introductory person in me, I forgot to mention that we think that up to 80% of people in prison are functionally illiterate.
Which
maybe
is impactful.
have dyslexia, maybe don't. So this is a huge impact to society if not remediated early.
Wow. Yeah. So if you think that you can do this,
Well, the ask then would
yes,
be
right.
that we then, Decoding Dyslexia, would ask our representatives, or either our state delegates who are currently in November of 2013 all running for re-election. Some are running opposed, some are running unopposed.
Right.
But right now the state delegates are running for re-election. So come the middle of November, you should be able to know who your state delegate is. If you're willing, we'd like you to set up an appointment with your state delegate or your state senator. Those shouldn't be difficult appointments to make. You should be able to meet with them close to your home, because they'll be at the General Assembly in Richmond in the winter. They should be in their jurisdiction now. We'd like you to call them try to get an appointment with them, meet them, and have an interaction like we just had. Obviously, we're not perfect. I didn't remember everything I was supposed to say. We have some talking points. We'll give those to you. It's just to raise awareness of what dyslexia is. And then to say, we hope to have legislation moving forward to support things like mandatory teacher training, early dyslexia screens, appropriate multi-sensory structured sequential programs, and response to intervention. And we would like you to please look for those moving forward. Look for that legislation moving forward and keep our stories in mind. And additionally, I think it's February 4th, we have a day in the State House that we would want to tell them about at this meeting as well. See if they could make it down.
February 4th, 2014.
That's right.
Okay.
So then you...
Right. So if you're able to do this, and it's Cameron makes it look easy.
Not really.
Then we would ask that you do just as Cam said, reach out and let us know who you've talked to, because that's important for us to keep track of. We can also help you get in touch with other people that are in your area if you don't want to go by yourself or don't want to go with just your family, because there are lots of people We're keeping a list of people who have said that they'd like to help with the legislative effort, and that is exactly what we've just done. You just go, you tell your story, you raise awareness as to what dyslexia is and what your experience is in your jurisdiction. And we are keeping a list, and we should have a few people that might live in the same area and have the same representatives as you. You can either go as a group or you can go separately, whichever you prefer. Exactly. Yeah.
People need to hear the message, right? As many times as they need to. Absolutely.
So reach out to us at Decoding Dyslexia Virginia, and that is decodingdyslexia.va.org. And we would be excited to work with you. Thanks.
Right, thanks.